in a cost sharing arrangement in order to validate some of the reimbursement dollars that we're going to be seeking. There's no request on the part of the design team because we do have the energy modeling that's required at each project phase through Kohler Ronan already part of our contract. So we had that meeting on October 4th, and Woody from the building committee attended both that meeting as well as our OPR meeting a week later on the 13th. I just let you know to know that you're getting good building committee representation when we start talking about the project requirements from a building utility standpoint. We also had a kickoff meeting on October 5th with Gilbane, Colliers, and Tecton, just to have a discussion about communication flow, who to call, what the contact, just your basic information about the people, the communication protocols and the hierarchy for communication between our three offices. We had on October 12th, we had a working group meeting, our bi-weekly working group meeting, to discuss evidence-based design, which is more or less a description of some of the considerations that we look at when we're designing both the interior and exterior of our school building projects. I believe that presentation was also included as part of your committee packet. And I mentioned this previously, but on October 13th, that Thursday, we had an owner's project requirement conventional kickoff meeting with the commissioning agent, the building systems engineers, Colliers, the town, and Woody as well, to just go through, to establish the baseline of what the project goals and in anticipated outcomes are from a building systems perspective. So that's what we've been doing since the last time that we met. What we have upcoming is this Friday morning, we have a parents representative council, a PRC meeting, where we are going to give a project update and have a discussion with the PRC relative to where we are. We have our schematic design submission next Tuesday, October 25th, and that is going to establish the start of the cost estimation process for getting us our first cost estimate, our first real cost estimate for the project since we started. And then finally, next Wednesday, we have our next working group meeting where we're going to go over project updates, refinement of the conceptual work that we've been doing. So we should have, by this time next week, we should have a pretty good package put together, including some schematic design, site drawings, floor plan drawings, as well as a schematic design narrative and outline specification, so that entire package can go and get estimated, and then we can start having those conversations after we get the estimates back. So at that, Jeff, I don't know if you think I missed anything on that update, but
nope. Nope. Happy to answer any questions the committee has, though.
Sure. Sharon?
You're muted. You're muted.
There we go. It wouldn't unmute for me. At what point do the schematics go into 3D and we see what it looks like vertically?
So probably the next, we already have some of that established. We are developing elevations and overall building massing. So I would say by our next building committee meeting, and certainly by our next working group meeting, we should be able to start showing some of that.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions for Justin or Jeff?
Tina?
Who's on the PRC?
I'm not sure that I can answer that question, other than that we have identified the time and the entity for us to give a presentation in front of. So I think we can probably follow up with that.
That'd be great.
It's just, so the superintendent's office put it together, and the email that I have basically says that it's a meeting that they have each month with leaders of the school's PTOs. And they're targeting this particular meeting to bring those PTO leaders to bring multiple guests from their school's PTO. So I don't have the extended list, but we'll ask for it and send it around to the committee.
Okay, so it's just PTO members. It wasn't extended to other parents that might be interested in playing a little bit bigger of a role.
Yeah, I that's the email correspondence I have. I don't have a invitation list, but we can get it for you.
Okay.
I talked to the superintendent this morning about it, and he told me it was the PTO, the parents' representative groups. I don't think they extended it out.
I see that Seth had messaged the group to say Justin could, so his second question was PRC is the Parents Representative Council, which is the leaders of the various PTOs. So that, I think Jeff covered that. He also asked if we could please cover the public forum at Polson and future upcoming. So my suspicion is, did we meet? I believe we've met since our workshop, our visioning workshop, the end of September, the 28th, that Wednesday. We had a meeting the following week. I can tell you that for our upcoming workshops, we are anticipating, again, the PRC meeting this Friday. We will have a concept workshop that is virtual on Wednesday, November 9th from 6 to 8. And we will have a refining the design workshop on January 18th at the Polson Middle School auditorium. Hopefully that answers Seth's question.
Yeah, and we'll be presenting to the Board of Selectmen at some point in that about that time to update them. And then we'll reach out to the press. And I know we'll work with Zoe. And I know Tina had a question about how we should talk interface. I think once we get the budget back and we can present, and then we'll kind of a more formal rollout of information to the public and make sure everyone, and we'll have, at some point we'll have some nice images,
Yes.
give or take, that we can kind of roll out in the newspapers and the press, the public, but I'm just hesitant to get too far ahead of ourselves, showing images that we may not be able to afford.
That's always very smart. We've seen it go the other way before, so certainly that is an appropriate strategy.
Yeah, so we'll have plenty of time to get the outreach stuff like that, and we'll go through the land use boards and things like that. We probably should re-engage after SD with the land use people, maybe start thinking, getting them on board and what we're planning and things like that. So, is that everyone's question for the design team? With that, I'll move it on to item 6, OPM update. Adam, you're on.
So Justin covered a lot of ground, so that was good. The Eversource item that he mentioned is one of the draft motions that's up for committee consideration tonight. For this version of Eversource's grant process, they do require a third party reviewer to do another check in addition to the MEP consultant, the owners, end users, the commissioning agent, et cetera, et cetera. So that we found out about that at the Eversource kickoff meeting. I have not yet received the proposal from Eversource for it. I had hoped to have it before tonight, but it's still in their finalization process at Eversource. So the motion that's before the committee tonight would be to authorize Graham to review and finalize that purchase order so we could get that consultant on board. The main purpose of the required activities for what they're calling their task 1 services that are required by Eversource is to do a review of the schematic design documents. And since those are coming out next Tuesday, wanted to make sure that they're on board and there's no lag or delay that might stint the Eversource process. So in early conversations, I anticipate the value of those services, at least the town's exposure to it, to be under $5,000 is the latest information I heard. Basically, Eversource and the town does a cost share, so the town only gets billed for 50% of this consulting services that are required. So
Adam,
if,
you heard, you got Elizabeth's email regarding going back and forth with Ben on that, right?
yes,
This
she,
afternoon? Yeah. Okay.
yes, so it's still in Elizabeth's ball in court. I talked with Ben last week. Ben, for the rest of the group, Ben is the third-party consultant's representative, and he had told me he had issued the invoice and that, or the proposal rather, and that it should be an Eversource ball in court. So again, the motion is there to sort of preemptively get the ball rolling so that we don't have to have a special committee meeting or something like that to authorize an approval, just to get the schematic design review process underway from Eversource.
You want me to make that, Graham?
Yes,
I'd like to make a motion to authorize the SBC chair to review and approve a
I do,
purchase
if you
order.
feel comfortable.
Pardon?
Just a delayed response from Graham. I think you're good to keep going.
Good.
Oh,
Yeah.
to review and approve a purchase order for the design review and other services from Eversource and its consultants in order to meet the requirements of the Eversource Path 1 grant process, and it is not to exceed 10,000.
Do we have a second? George has got a second. All in favor? And well, first of all, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous? Item 6B,
So again, Justin covered most of this. As he mentioned, the 25th is when the schematic documents are coming out, and then there's a 3-week estimate process, but also the review process where the town staff, Colliers, my team here at Colliers, and any of you would generate comments, review the documents, and any questions or concerns. If you do see the documents and have any comments, you can send them to me. I basically filter everything and compile it into a listed spreadsheet, so that way it's consistent for Jeff and his team to respond to after the schematic design document review phase. Sharon, I see.
Yeah, will we get a copy of the schematics?
Yes, no,
Okay.
they're your documents. Yeah, you get a copy.
Okay, good. I'd like to review them, actually.
One thing I would just to help people keep in mind where the documents are for schematic design versus design development and then construction document phase. Again, as Justin sort of alluded to, a lot of it is footprint programming, general shape of the building. So they won't have nooks and cutouts done. They certainly won't have, minute detailing or things of that nature. If you have any, doubt about whether or not it's an appropriate time to ask a question, you send it my way, and then I can kind of filter it if necessary. Hey, this isn't quite yet. They're not missing it. They just haven't gotten to it yet because it's not construction documents. But that has historically been a good way to sort of compartmentalize things and keep things flowing. So all of your questions, comments, concerns get represented, but it's also in a cohesive document as opposed to just emails here and there flying around that are hard to track while the designers are trying to get things done to get the documents complete. So that, like I said, that design review process follows the estimate review process of 3 weeks. So once they're issued on the 25th, the comments would be due on the 15th back to TechDon. So if you have anything, please take a look at it the first week or two and get me your thoughts, so that way I have time to compile and then put them all together and send them back to the design team on November 15th. Otherwise, just looking through our calendar schedule here, really there's not much that Justin has already touched on. So one of the focus I would have is that there's going to be a lot of information flowing right around the Thanksgiving holiday. So we'll get our estimates back Tuesday, November 15th. We'll have a reconciliation meeting 2 days later to try to put apples to apples and get a sense of where there might be misalignments between Tecton's estimator and Gilbane's estimator. The whole point of that meeting is to make sure that everyone's reading the drawings the same way, and that the numbers that are being put forth are comparable, at least in terms of scope. And then we can kind of marry them together to get what the reconciled estimate is. So at our SBC meeting on Monday, the 21st, that's where everyone will see the numbers. It'll be in your packets in advance, but we'll talk about where everything's sort of falling, where there might be initial thoughts on value engineering and value management, those types of things. And then the design team can start estimating the documents before Thanksgiving. Then we can come back during the December 5th meeting and hopefully have everything lined up, have all the VM and VE identified, and identify that this is the design, this is the plan, how we get it to budget if it's over budget, or high fives all around if it's under budget, and then we move on to the next phase of development. So a lot of work and a lot of data flowing around the next month or so. So just want to keep that in people's thoughts as we go forward. Any questions on any of that process? As usual, we'll be feeding you all information and documents and try to compartmentalize it. So when you see something, it's reviewable and actionable.
Any questions for Adam on that very clear description? One question just for I know when do we anticipate submitting to the land use boards in the design phase, or what at what level do we anticipate submitting? I guess wetland would be our first submission, approximately.
Graham, I don't have that off of the tip of my tongue, but 1 second. Jeff, I don't know if we already pulled up the schedule.
Working on it. So conservation. Let's see. I don't know if I can screen share. Let's see. So can you see basically right in here? So start of February, more or less.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And then, so we've got the conservation, planning and zoning. This was if OSTA was required. But we're anticipating about a 2 to 3 month process. We want to get through, it could be a little bit earlier. You could see a couple of weeks earlier. So kind of the tail end of January, but we just need to, we need to coordinate when the actual submission is required for first reading at their meeting. So we'll do that in the next, we'll do that this month to understand their submission guidelines.
One of the things that we do have to schedule is once we have our schematic design package, is to schedule a meeting, an interim meeting with the town staff and departments, including building and fire. But it's an appropriate time to bring the town planning staff and zoning into the and conservation into an informal discussion while we're still kind of at this phase. So that's one of the items that I know Adam and I talked about late last week, making sure that we don't miss that opportunity once we get schematic design.
Yeah, and I mean, staff is already well aware. Obviously, Aaron's
Oh, yeah.
already very well aware of it, but it doesn't hurt to start lining it out. Yeah.
Yep.
Assuming we're well on budget or in striking distance of budget come December, which I'm optimistic we will figure it out by then.
Sure.
How are we with selling the land to the land people, selling the river? Is that going through, or?
It's
What's
still
going on with that?
in the works. It's still being reviewed by the subcommittees, and we're working on it. And they're doing their due diligence, justified due diligence on making sure that they're all comfortable selling us the land. So I don't want to handicap it, but I think it's working its way through the process. We are designing the septic system to basically comply with the DEP criteria anyway. So that's, So we are doing that, but we're just trying to not have to go through the formal process with DEP, but we're optimistic we'll get some informal feedback from the DEP, just confirming that to reassure at least the wetlands commission, which is obviously there's some overlap, and they want to make sure we're protecting the wetlands. So we're doing everything possible to satisfy their concerns also. I see Nick has joined us as a panelist. Hey, Nick.
Yes, thank you. I was on as a guest there for a while, but
You've
Very good
elevated.
to be-
You've been promoted to a panel. It's always a highlight of every
I was
meeting.
talking for 5 minutes and nobody responded. So something was up.
So you guys are teed up to do the estimate? You got your staff on board?
Absolutely. Yeah, as I think Justin mentioned, we had a good meeting last week about it. So yeah, we're all ready to go.
Excellent. Have you got your contract yet or not? You're still working through the legal? I assume.
Yeah, still working with Adam on that. I think we're pretty close.
Okay, good. I know there's some clauses. You got corporate lawyers out there that get paid
That's
for this, right?
that's the problem.
Well, they get to pay the big bucks, so I'm sure they justify what they do. So it's all to the good. Better not have any problems later on down the road anyway. So it's good to have those clauses. So
Yep. All right.
okay, so that's so I think that's everything you had, Adam. You good?
Yep, that's it on my end.
Okay, beautiful. Let's see. So moving on to the next round of public comments. Rachel, any more public comments?
No, but there was a Q&A from Seth, so I'm not quite sure if we need to answer that or how we move forward.
Chairman Curtis, I can say that in my comments, I addressed Seth's questions relative to the public forum and also the PRC.
Okay, so Seth, if you want, you can raise your hand or you can join and we'll let you into the meeting, or if you're satisfied, we'll move on. Not seeing a raised hand, I'm assuming we're good. Any additional items? Tina.
The responses for the emails. So now that I've got access to them to respond, there was a couple in there. Should I pass any of the press inquiries on to Zoe? Grandma's,
Call and discuss the strategy.
you froze.
Oh,
And
so I'll give you a call and discuss it. We'll have a three-way call with Zoe and strategize how involved she wants to be.
Okay,
And then we'll talk about it. I think once after the SD's done, we'll roll out a PR strategy.
okay. All right,
And
so
the other ones, I already talked to one or two of those people anyway.
okay,
So I think they're I think we should be good, but I'll give you a call. I'll set up a three-way call with Zoe. And we'll
Okay.
talk about how much she wants to be out in front on this stuff.
okay, sounds good. Just so I have a plan to respond. There's not much in there now, but
Right.
if that changes. Okay.
Exactly. Hopefully we keep it that way, nice and quiet.
And for the union email that was in there, do you want email or mailed?
No, maybe if you want to just email it to the building committee.
Okay,
It's a fairly standard pro forma, and we talked about it a little bit last meeting.
the person just wanted to know how to send you the information, either
He
via.
said, I reached out to him directly.
Oh, okay, so I can
I've
disregard that one.
already reached out to him. Yeah, I
Got it.
got the email. It's a fairly standard recommendation on their part.
Okay, then I'll delete that email.
Yeah, exactly. I already talked to him, and
Okay,
I don't think there's a cost premium. There's benefits to it, but I think in this case, I don't believe the plan is to do a PLA, a project labor agreement. That's
okay.
that's kind of above our pay grade anyway. That would be a selectman thing. So,
Sounds good.
okay. Any other items, agenda items? I see Antonia has joined us also, so that's good. Working on the sustainability. Gonna get our lead platinum plaque Just kidding.
Happy to be here.
Okay, great. Thanks for joining us. Okay, great. No other issues? Any raised hands for any other items that people want to discuss?
No, but can I just make a comment? I listened in on the I don't know, work group last Wednesday regarding the evidence-based design. I just want to compliment Antonia, and was it Catherine, or I don't know who the other woman was.
Catherine, yeah.
Catherine, you guys did a great, I just listened and it was a great job. I really enjoyed it. And to see the actual visual that went with it was really nice once I got home. But thank you very much. I think you guys are doing a great job.
Thank you so much for that. Much appreciated. And I'll pass on the compliments to Catherine.
Oh, how's our latest results on the poll? Have we got the final numbers in?
We do have the final numbers. I believe it was upwards of 250 participants, and we're still sorting through the data, but there were upwards of 100 and some free response comments, and lots of activity on the poll. So it was, I think, it's going to be some great data to come out of it.
Great, excellent. All about the public outreach. Great. So I guess hearing that, does anyone want to make a half an hour? We're record pace. Does anyone want to make a motion to adjourn? Second? Tina? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate the hard work. Looking forward to seeing those SD drawings.
Yeah, that'll be great. Take
Thank
care
you.
all.